Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining me today. If you are still Googling or asking people for what's the best AI prompt for resume writing or what's the best AI prompt to analyze this data, I'm going to teach you how to engineer your own prompts. I am all about teaching people how to fish, and most people are just wasting hours with AI or feel that it's not useful because they are just getting garbage out because they are putting garbage in. And so if you stay through this video, you will learn the skill that turns AI from a novelty into honestly your biggest piece of leverage, straight up, plain and simple. I will show you what prompt engineering really is, why it's exploding in value, and how this is genuinely the best and biggest thing that you can do today to gain a massive career edge over everybody else that you're competing against. So, before we dive in, if you like this video, like this content, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and the thumbs up. And without further ado, let's dive in. So, what is prompt engineering? This is a term that most people have heard, but they don't really know what it is or they have a misunderstanding. And it's honestly a artistic science. It's really how you are interacting with AI. It is what you are putting in to try to get out what you want. And it's less about asking questions and more about designing instructions. So think about the fact that AI, let's dive into another component here, is that AIs do a lot of prediction. So they actually function behind the scenes that they are trying to predict or assume the next most likely output based off of all of their training and information and what you asked. Okay, so what we are trying to do with prompt engineering is reduce that amount of prediction by giving it specificity in what we actually want out of it. And so this is huge in your career development and career progress because let's talk through a couple different examples. Like maybe you are writing resume, or maybe you are doing cold outreach on LinkedIn to try to network with people. Or again, maybe you're trying to do tactical things at your job, analyze data and clean it up, or make sure that you have no spelling and grammar issues in an email or something, or that the tone of your email is coming across right for the person that's going to be on the other end. Whatever it might be, right? You don't want it to sound like garbage. You don't want it to sound like the 10,000 other people in your company or whatever that are using AI to help them out with this particular task, or the hundreds of thousands of job seekers that you're competing against. And so this is going to be crucial. It is the most important thing because AI is truly available to everybody and is like the next slash current revolution for getting what you want out of your professional life. And so that is what we're going to dive into today. I hope that clears some things up on kind of the problem we are trying to solve. And how most people have experienced it is just they treat AI like a search engine. They give it a quick one-liner and call it a day. And that works for some things and not for others. And that leads into our first prompt engineering concept. So understanding that prompt engineering is based off of frameworks, and the frameworks will tell you what type of prompt to create. So the first one we're going to talk about is zero shot, one shot, and few shot. And so most people honestly just default to zero shot regardless of the task. And so this is going to be a prompt that's honestly designed for simple tasks: summarizing something, translating something, fixing spelling and grammar, categorizing, a list of 50 words, whatever it might be. And what this means is that you don't need to provide any examples. It's a straightforward task. There's not really any assumptions that's needed. It just is doing its thing. So this could be, like I said, summarizing a LinkedIn profile. For that would be and converting it into a resume summary. It could be, hey, I need you to alphabetize these 50 words, or whatever it might be. Again, hey, can you translate this paragraph from English into Spanish, right? Something that you don't need to really give it a lot of context. It is simple and straightforward. And the easiest way to understand if this is what is the right prompt framework is, don't think about it from your standpoint. You have a lot of learned knowledge, tribal knowledge, and things in your brain. But imagine you were trying to tell this to, let's say like a 12-year-old, like someone who has the capability. If you gave them that one line, would they actually understand it? And if the answer is yes, awesome. If the answer is no, then this is where we maybe need to look at other frameworks for more complexity. So sticking on this same concept, though, of kind of those straightforward prompts. So you have zero shot, what we just talked about, one shot, and few shot. What these are saying is giving examples of output. So again, if you were to say, hey, I need you to summarize this LinkedIn profile into a resume summary, give it a sample resume summary. Say, hey, this is one that I did before historically. That would be a one shot if you gave it one. If you give it multiple, then that would be a few shot. And so an example of that one might be, hey, based on the 3 examples below, I need you to classify these resume bullet points as either technical, leadership, or soft skill. And then you would give it, 3 different bullet points and say, hey, this is an example of technical, this is an example of leadership, and this is an example of soft skill. Categorize the rest that are on my resume, these 30 bullet points, whatever it might be. So this is now giving it a sample reference that it can then translate into the result that you're looking for. So this is just a nice, simple, straightforward framework that, especially if you're having it do things that you've historically done. And these are very simple examples. But again, maybe you're looking to do some sort of data analysis to where you're like, hey, I have 10 different applicants that I am looking at for a particular job. Here's who have worked out the best. Here was their application. Historically, the 3 best employees in this role. I want you to look at these and help me figure out who might be the next of these 3, right? So that's just kind of like another example there, but it's really just growing upon it. How simple is the task? Again, use that reference of like, if I were to tell a 12-year-old to do this and just said, hey, I need you to do it. Could they do it? Yes or no? Okay, now if I gave them a frame of reference that said, hey, I need you to do this summary, here's an example of one. Does that solve it for them? And if it's like, yes, that's more likely for them to do it, then go with a one shot. But if it's like, hey, there's a couple variables at play. I need you to do this LinkedIn summary, and I need you to tell me what the tone is between, is it technical, personable, or impactful, right? Like something like that. Or like I said, I need you to take this pile of resumes and tell me which ones you think are going to be ideal based off of a historical track record of hiring. Just a couple common examples there, but this is the I'll call it the shot framework group that really just depends on, do you need to provide samples or do you not need to provide samples? And if you do need to provide samples, how many? And that's the difference between a 0 shot, a 1 shot, and a few shot. It's how many samples are you providing for reference to help AI achieve what it wants. Okay, so now let's go on to the second framework that I want to teach you about, which is chain of thought. And so this is going to be trying to improve the output accuracy and also providing some step-by-step reasoning. So this is really, really good for problem solving or logical reasoning. Especially from a career perspective, you might use this for salary negotiation, interview preparation, career path planning. If it's more tactical on job, it might be really useful for project planning or budget forecasting or budgeting in general. And really what we're trying to do here is reduce the amount of hallucinations and reduce the amount of wrong answers in its prediction engine. Hallucination in this case is exactly what it sounds like from the human perspective, where you're seeing things that aren't there. We've all probably experienced this, where we put something into AI and we're like, hey, I need you to summarize this 50-page document. And then all of a sudden, it's a 50-page document on the corporate strategy. And then out of nowhere, it just starts talking about, I don't know, traveling to Hawaii. And you're like, what is this nonsense? That's a hallucination, where it's just bringing things in that don't make sense because, again, it's trying to predict the next most likely accurate thing. So chain of thought reasoning is giving it the logic step by step, right? So I mentioned this could be used for something like a salary negotiation. So you can say, hey, you're an expert salary negotiator, and I am currently earning $80,000 a year. The market range is 100 to 130. Help me think through this step by step about how I can come up with a counter offer strategy in my next review, right? And then it might come back with something about confirming your goal. It will tell you to research the employment and the market deeper, provide a MISO strategy, start high, but you're asking it really, how do we go about this in a step-by-step fashion? That key phrase there was, let's think step by step. What is my counter offer strategy to get from 80 to 100 to 130? Okay, that is the ideal. Maybe, again, I mentioned interview preparation. So let's say that you either have some sample interview questions or you have a job description, right? Again, let's think step by step. How should I respond to behavioral questions about conflict resolution as it relates to this job description? Boom, put the job description in. You can even cut off the conflict resolution piece. Let's think step by step. How should I respond to behavioral questions as it relates to this job description? Bam. So this is the basics of chain of thought reasoning, is you're telling it to think this through step by step and helping you move through one piece at a time and helping you get through this. So this is how, again, you can sit here and expand upon this to where you were like, hey, again, I have stack of 10 resumes. I need to narrow this down to our top 3 candidates. I have all of the prior applications of who applied, who we hired, and who was successful. Based off of this, how can we go through step by step and take these 10 candidates I have now and narrow down to 3? And it will then help you out in that step by step process in narrowing that down. Again, maybe you're doing a data analysis thing. Hey, I have this raw output report from our finance system. I need to look at this to figure out what products are our most profitable, not from a margin perspective, but when taking into account the margin, the quantity of sales, the demand, all of these things. What are our most profitable products so that we can continue to ramp those up and market those more? Help me walk through step by step of how to identify those. Whatever it might be. So something that maybe has some nuance and multiple steps of iteration to get to your end goal. Chain of thought prompting is huge. And the key is to tell it to help you out in the step-by-step process in some way. Like I said, let's think about this step by step. Let's go about this step by step. How would you do this step by step? So on and so forth. This is how you can go about it in that way. So the next one is going to be, if you watch my previous video that touched on this to some degree, is race is the common framework. But overall, what we're going to summarize this up as is going to be role, system, and contextual prompting. And so the 3 frameworks that I talked about before, race, create, and rise, all kind of have this at its core. And a lot of frameworks have this at its core, which what you're trying to do is you're really trying to hone in and optimize the tone, the behavior, and the relevance of the AI's response to a particular kind of identity and set of guardrails. And so this is going to be used when you have a task that is, again, requiring a specific tone or maybe requiring some expertise, or you're trying to simulate a lot of real world conversations. This is honestly the greatest way to use these for people like myself who have historically struggled with communication, with soft skills. This is the money maker prompt engineering framework here. So what I mean by system, role, context. So system side might be like, you are a seasoned tech recruiter with 10 years of experience. Your role is that you are conducting a mock behavioral interview. The context is the candidate is applying for a senior project manager or product manager role at Meta. And then the task is to ask 3 behavioral questions and then provide a critiquing and areas of improvement and areas to not improve because they're already performed well after the end of the 3 answers, right? And this is how you can get rapid iteration on particular things. Like I said before, again, maybe you're looking to have some specific tone or professional expertise in a different way. So maybe you are in sales, but you're terrible in marketing, but you really want to learn that skill set, right? So we could switch this up to saying, hey, you are a seasoned marketing professional with 10 years of experience that your role is to help train or mentor a salesperson with 10 years of experience into building successful marketing campaigns that are going to go out through social media in order to garner influencer campaign results, right? And so your task then would be to provide the coaching materials or the strategy to help this person translate their sales experience into marketing experience to build successful social media influencer campaigns, right? So that's kind of another one to where you can use it to augment yourself, right? If you know, hey, here's a strength that I have in my role, here's a weakness I have in my role, I'm going to use AI to mimic an expert in my weakness. I'm going to tell it my strength and say our task is to combine and come together and kick ass and take names. That's what we're trying to do here. So that's the role system and context prompting, is you are telling AI the persona you want it to be, the context around it, a little bit maybe of who you are or what the situation is, and then what the actual action it is taking and going to be. Okay, so the next one is going to be step back prompting. And so this is one where you are going to have AI. I like to use this a lot more in planning and strategic phase. So maybe you are told at work that you need to figure out a way to have, I don't know, 10% cost savings year over year in your department. And so your brain immediately starts to go towards solving the problem, the tactics of how to do that, whatever it might be. So what you're going to do with AI is you're going to take that step back and you're going to say, hey, I need you to help me think at a high level. What are the factors that goes into the operating expenses of a HR department? And then that's where you can then have a conversation with it where it's going to list out the factors. And then you can say, okay, based off of these, what is going to be the easiest to hardest to achieve cost savings reduction, right? Or given those factors in the cost of running an HR department, help me evaluate the difficulty in decreasing expenditure in those areas, right? So these sorts of things. So you're having it take that step back. You're having it think as your planner and strategic partner. And so this could be for a specific career task at your role. Or again, maybe we're talking about yourself to where you're like, hey, I just don't know what the next step in my career is, right? So maybe a little bit of career planning. You can go to AI and say, hey, here's where I'm at in my career. Here's my resume and my track record. I don't know what's next. Can you help me identify what is going to be a good long-term fit, or what factors do you think are going to be key in a long-term fit for my next job? And then it can come back and say, or then, it'll give you the factors, and you can say, well, given those factors, can you evaluate what's going to be the best for somebody like myself who is highly creative and autonomous? And then you can kind of sit there and just build and build and build and funnel from starting broad, that step back prompting, and narrow it down over multiple iterations and conversations and providing more details. That is what step back prompting is really, really good for. And from a professional perspective, this can help you highly in planning, or honestly, this is a skill set that I think a lot of people struggle with as they move up into leadership, as they're trying to break into leadership. So maybe you are at that maybe supervisor, team lead, senior blank role, but you can't quite break into leadership. Typically, it's because you are lacking something on that strategy planning side. And this is where you can then go to AI and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what I'm struggling with. Help me just start from the beginning. Help me take that step back, and what is going to go into achieving blank. And it will help train you in thinking that way. Because again, we're talking about starting with the level 100 strategic planning question, and then narrowing down until we have our specific tactic. And that is a huge component of leadership, is starting at that 1,000-foot view and then going, okay, I'm at 1,000. Now how do I get to 900 feet, and then 800 feet, and then 700 feet, and then 500 feet, and then 10 feet, right? And narrowing it down. And that actually also leads into my fifth and final framework that I really want to provide here, which is going to be goal-based prompting. Okay, so this is actually going to be really good for reverse engineering. So maybe you know what you want to do and where you want to go, but you're not sure where things are falling down or what your breaking point is. So this could be something like landing a job, or improving your performance, or like we were saying before, breaking into leadership, career transition, whatever it might be. And so this is where you are going to AI and you're saying, here's what I want to do. I have no freaking clue how to do it. So where do we start? What do we do? Right. And so this prompt might come in the language of something like, my goal is to land a new job at Facebook specifically. I want you to act as a coach to help me get in front of people at that company, to get my name there and create the opportunity for me to get a new job at Facebook. But before you answer, ask me 2 questions to clarify my goals, And then when we are out of out of clarifying questions, then provide me a plan. And this is where, again, you just give it the goal. It's going to come back and ask you some questions and go back and forth, and you're going to have a conversation with it. And then it will provide that contextual plan because it now has the information you have clarified for it. Like, you're not just looking for a job at Facebook, but maybe you are looking for a job at Facebook within your given specific skill set that is also going to pay you $100,000. And you're going to be using LinkedIn as your job search platform. And, these types of things just come out over time as it's asking clarification questions in order to provide you the appropriate strategic plan. So again, you literally just start with AI of saying, hey, here's my goal. Before you tell me how to achieve said goal, ask me some questions to create an accurate and effective plan. And so, like I said, and this can be used effectively endlessly if you really think about it, right? This could be used super tactically or could be used super strategically. And so from a tactical perspective, again, hey, I need to build a project plan for overhauling our accounting system, right? Ask me clarifying questions before you provide for me my project plan. And then you're going to sit there and run through everything, and it will ask you all the questions relevant over and over and over again. And then it'll finally go, okay, I have enough for your project charter. Here's your project charter for the executive team or whatever it might be. So goal-based prompting is huge. Okay. And again, so I provided multiple different examples there. And so now I want to get into kind of the bonus, we'll say intermediate section, right? So we've talked about 5 different prompt frameworks. So we talked about our SHOT frameworks, which are effectively how many samples and examples do you need to provide alongside a task to have AI reference understanding what you're trying to get as a result. So 0 shot, 1 shot, few shot. So do you need no examples because it's super, super simple? Do you need 1 example because it's just like, hey, I just need you to do this thing. Here's an example of the success. Do it over and over again. Or a few shot because you have multiple criteria at hand. And so you needed to understand the different variables at play. Chain of thought reasoning, where you are helping it work through step by step or help you in the step-by-step process of how to achieve said result. Role, system, and contextual prompting. So you are having AI act as a particular persona in a given situation to help you achieve a particular goal, and you're providing it all that information in the prompt. Step back prompting, where you are telling AI, hey, I need you to take a step back, help me think at a high level, start at the 50,000 foot view about how to do blank, how to achieve blank, or whatever it might be, and then help me narrow down. And then very similar to that is goal-based prompting. So you're not telling it to start at the high level, but instead you're saying, here's the goal I have to do, and here's the thing I have to achieve. How do I do that? Ask me questions to help me clarify. So there's, so goal-based and step back are pretty close, but step back is forcing it. Here's the 50,000 foot view. Now I want to narrow down. Goal-based prompting is saying, here's the bottom that I need to achieve, right? So based off of that, let's start at the top and figure out how we get back to the bottom. That's what we're looking to do here. Okay. So now, intermediate section to build upon this. So I've mentioned multiple times, maybe you're doing bullet point related things or data related things or analyzing resumes for, if you're on the talent acquisition side, whatever it might be. But when you're getting into things that are, either larger data sets, higher volumes of things that you are having it either produce or analyze or look at from a sample perspective, or tactical things, again, writing a full project charter and having to analyze a bunch of data that you've done during discovery phase, whatever it might be. The more data and things that you are working with or giving AI, the more prone it is to errors. And not to get super nerdy here, but this is because there is a token limit behind the scenes. And so that is what we are trying to do here. So there's 3 different things that I want you to get into the habit of building into your prompts as you are dealing with more complex tasks and larger data set tasks. And this is going to be data chunking, data validation, and self-correction capabilities. Okay. So I used the example before of maybe you have 10 different resumes from people that you are looking to analyze and figuring out, hey, out of this, who's going to be the best based on the historical track record of these people being the most successful historically, right? And so 10 resumes can be a lot, right? I mean, that could be 20 different pages. It can be tens of thousands of words. to where it's not necessarily interpreting it correctly. So maybe we want to chunk this out, right? So this is where you can say something like, hey, analyze these 10 resumes chunk by chunk. Each chunk is going to be 1 page, right? And so I either need you to do this and then provide me a summary analysis, or tell me when you're ready for the next page, or when you're ready for the next resume, whatever it might be. You can have it do some automatic chunking to where you tell it, hey, I need you to analyze this in chunks that will prevent the token limit. Here's the 10 resumes, but I need you to make sure that you are doing a comprehensive and accurate analysis, something along those lines. Or you can say, hey, I have these 10 resumes. I need them analyzed chunk by chunk. Tell me when you're ready for the next resume. Here's the first one. It analyzes the first one, then the second, and so on and so forth. So either way, you are reducing the amount of data that it is taking in, ingesting, analyzing at a given time. Okay. Sticking with this same model or same process and concept. So then we have data validation, right? So this is where that you could say, hey, so you're analyzing the resume for common themes in comparison to the other 3, right? So we said, hey, I'm going to give you resume by resume. Here's the first one. Before proceeding to the next resume, I need you to validate that the bullet points were categorized correctly, the name was interpreted correctly, and that the overall matching to the job description that we are analyzing for, that was also correct, right? And if anything was incorrectly analyzed or anything was incorrectly categorized, then I need you to make a list of the response here. Or we go into the third and final piece, which is self-correction capability. And you can say that, hey, before proceeding, I need you to, again, analyze the name and title, the bullet point categorization, the alignment with the job description we were talking about. And if there was any data analyzed incorrectly from the resume I provided, then I need you to reread and reanalyze the resume information that related to the category we were validating and correct it and I need you to follow this same validation and correction process until you can ensure that the analysis and comparison is 100% accurate. And so this is where you can get really, really sophisticated in these tasks, right? Is saying, hey, so I need you to break up the data in chunks. I need you to validate your analysis and interpretation. And if something is incorrect upon the validation, then I need you to self-correct it and perform this analysis, validation, and self-correction process until you can ensure that you are providing 100% accurate information. Okay. So that's sort of like the intermediate thing to add on to all of these prompts you're trying to do. Okay. And this is how this can be super, super crucial is all of these things are not meant to be used in a vacuum and independent of each other. They're meant to be stacked, right? So let's say, like just to give you like an example of something that could be super powerful. Again, let's stick with the resume analysis model because it's something most people can understand. So like I said before, right? So we historically have resumes that were unsuccessful and successful. So, we're hiring for our third project manager. Here's the 2 that were successful previously. Here's where the applicants that were completed against them, right? So what you can say is, hey, I need your help in analyzing the new set of candidates and determine who was going to be the most likely for to be successful in this position long term. Historically, our process has been going step by step, looking at a resume, performing an initial interview, and then rinsing and repeating this process until we reach our final candidate. Here are the few shot examples of the other candidates who have been successful. We also did a chain of thought reasoning because of the step-by-step process, right? Your role in this is to be the HR talent acquisition manager in analyzing these in order to conduct an effective or a more effective first line interview. So now you're given some role and some context. And so in analyzing these 10 resumes, I need you to see the comparisons or trending as it relates to both the job description, not both, but it relates to all of the above. The job description that we're hiring for project manager, the 2 successful prior project managers hired before, and also in comparison to the previous people who we deemed that were not acceptable candidates or got weeded out, right? And so I need you to, in this analysis, make sure that what you are doing is accurate, that you are aligning with the trends and figuring out if there are any anomalies or incorrect analyses. And if so, then self-correct them along the way. So right there, like that little example, we combined fuse shot, chain of thought, validation, data chunking, self-correction, and then your role in context, right? So these things are not meant to be used in a vacuum. They are meant to be used blended together. But I think that between these initial frameworks of zero shot, one shot, few shot, chain of thought reasoning, role system and context, step back prompting, and then and goal based prompting, along with the data chunking, validation, and self correction, you will begin to have some ultra sophisticated prompts. If you want more insights into this, if you want AI to even help you write these prompts, join my school community, which is linked down below. I am constantly trying to release content there as it relates to AI prompting and frameworks and how to use AI to elevate your career to the next level. If you have any questions or clarifications, anything like that, leave a comment below. Again, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and notification bell. And check me out on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram, and hopefully TikTok coming soon. So I appreciate you joining me today. I hope that this proves useful. Like I said, leave a comment below, feedback in either direction, if this was beneficial, if it was not valuable, whatever, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to drive value for you. So I appreciate you joining me today. And until next time, thank you.